My dad had the ability to create an atmosphere of fear in the home. To be angry with our mum, and then there was an argument, and then screaming, and then my dad hitting our mum, and then my mum fighting back, and then silence. And then we hear our dad reverse down the driveway, and we go out into the hallway, and there's our mum, you know, bruised up and crying. And so it was a real frightening time for us. Well, my dad only knew what he knew, so there wasn't any sort of engagement around how school activities went with us while we sat at the dinner table, or come and watch our rugby games and stuff like that. These were things that I really desired from my dad. You know, that sense of acknowledgement and belonging, and you know, regardless of what the methods he used to discipline us, regardless of that, we still loved him. But on the other hand, it hurt. It actually hurt more when your dad said, you know, you're going to be hopeless and useless and good for nothing. All those words hurt. You know, when you got a hiding from Dad, it was over in a couple of seconds. But with the negative words, spoken into my life, that had a huge impact on me. You know, there's a saying that sticks and stones may break my bones, but names will never hurt me. But that's just a myth, because names did hurt me. My dog was my best friend. He loved me and I loved the dog, and I named him Chip. And so one day I came home from school and called my dog, and he never came. And when my dad did come home, I asked where my dog was, because my dog wasn't with him when he pulled up the drive, and he just told me straight off the bat that he had shot my dog and put him in a tyre and chucked him in the Kaipara Harbour. My father took something from me that loved me, and it was there that I had this hatred for my dad. I asked him if I could get a tattoo, and he said no, and I went and got one anyway. And it was there that that I got a real good hiding for my dad, and it was then that I ran away from home. Having no father around to enforce those boundaries, well, basically I was like a kid let loose in a candy store. Yeah, I got into drugs in a very big way down there, and I got into datura, cactus juice, anything that would make me feel good, anything that would get me high. And I ended up in a woman's home, and I was helping myself to a meal, and she knocked me out with one of those cast iron frying pans. And I woke up to a shock of cold water on me, and I was in the holding cells of the police cells, naked as, and they were spraying me down because I'd swallowed myself as well. And so that was the state that I was in. In 1977, I moved home to Whangarei. Started hanging out with some cousins up there and some friends, and a lot of those guys were hunter-gatherers, and they drank a lot, smoked a lot of dope. And then in 1978, 79, we started up the Black Power chapter. A lot of us joined the gang for a companionship, for somewhere to belong, and we were accepted, warts and all, regardless of our criminal history and stuff like that. It became a family. Finally found myself sitting in a holding cell in the Whangarei courthouse, standing before a district court judge. He knew me very well, as I knew him, because I turned up at his courthouse just about every Monday. And I don't know what I got up to in the weekend, because most weekends I was stoned, drunk. It was just a mess. And sometimes I rock up to court just to see if my name got called out. That's how bad it was. And I was up on charges and was looking at a prison term, and he just said to me, Poiki, I've been looking at your record. And he said to me, I'm not going to be sending you to prison today, Poiki. But he said to me that if you continue to come to this courthouse. Prison is going to be your future. And then he said to me, in fact, if you appear before me again in this courthouse, you will be going to prison. Then I got stood down and I got periodic detention, probation, fines and all that sort of stuff. Then I went back down into my cell and sat on the edge of my bunk and started thinking about the choices I was making, and I decided to make those changes while I was sitting in that cell. We're just going to call in on the childcare centre where my mokos are. Here's one of them, and there's another one somewhere. So this is my girlfriend at the time did give me the ultimatum about making changes, and it worked because I followed her down to Christchurch and got a job down in Christchurch, and I started hanging out, you know, with some family men, and then we moved back to Whangarei after Rowena's dad passed away, and then unfortunately I gravitated to what I knew. Got back in with my mates again, and then started drinking, started drugging, and then one day a local minister from our community of Ruakaka, his name was Michael Norman, an evangelist. He lived across the road from us, and yeah, they formed a relationship with my girlfriend, with my future wife, and they took her to an outreach in Whangarei, and it was there that she, she gave her heart to the Lord and became a Christian. I started to forge a relationship with her pastor, with this Mike Norman, and he was relentless. He was on a mission. He was on this mission to get me into the kingdom of God. This is what he told me. And he wasn't going to stop. He wasn't going to give up until I was on his lounge room floor, bawling my eyes out, giving my heart to the Lord. And so that's exactly what happened. I gave my heart to the Lord, and my life just turned around. My life was actually turned upside down, inside out and right side up. Then in 1988, I married the woman that I've been with now for over 40 years. Our life has changed. It's just gone from blessing to blessing. Got a job at the New Zealand oil refinery, back then, and we managed to save up some money to buy a house. And then I became a youth worker. We didn't have a youth centre, so our home became our youth centre. And the principal of the Bream Bay College at the time gave us a basketball hoop, and I just hung it up on our driveway, and that became our youth centre. Today, the mahi that I do now, I work with families, I work with men. My wife and I are caregivers for Child, Youth and Family. We've fostered over 235 boys over a 20-year period, and we're still doing it today. I also work for the Not OK campaign, who are based in Wellington, and I travel this country telling my story. We go into prisons. We've been in gang pads. We were guest speakers at the Mangamoa pad in Waikato, which was an amazing experience, speaking out about family violence, or any form of violence for that matter. I think that takes a brave person, whether it's a man, a woman or a child, that would make that stand for what's right.